Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vault Reviews where we give you guys album reviews of all different sorts. Today we're doing a pretty awesome album that Brent picked up on Record Store Day, I believe. Brent, you want to kick this one off because I know you like it.
Everybody who listens to, well, I think good music is aware of who Candlemass is. Candlemass is one of the bands, it was the first Doom band I ever heard. And honestly, at the time, I didn't even understand what Doom was, so forget that part. All I gotta say, honestly, I still to this day, other than just really heavy guitars, whatever, nothing seems particularly doomy except for a couple of those bands that play like one note for like 30 minutes.
Hey, at least you picked a good band to get into it, though, Gateway Band.
Yeah, for real. And this is the album we're gonna do is the self-titled where Messiah, what's his name, Mike Marconi or something?
Hey, we've already got a bad reputation for mispronunciation. I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, this album is Where the Messiah is Back. No, not the trumpets blaring from the sky, Messiah.
I don't know. It kind of sounded like that at times on this album. It's so powerful.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, those riffs.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead here.
Oh, no, that's perfectly fine, because this album I couldn't get over it. I absolutely loved it. I don't know. I mean, just from the opening riff of Black Dwarf, the first song, I was instantly hooked.
I don't even want to talk about the music first. Let's talk about the artwork. I think it's like the best idea ever. It's less is more. It's an all-white cover with a big black bold Candlemass logo, and it just it screams awesomeness, and nothing is over-covered with it or anything. It's just you're getting an awesome metal album when you get it. And I remember you coming up to the counter on Record Store Day and picking that up. Is that one of the things that kind of enticed you to buy it? Was the album art?
Well, yeah, but it was weird because whenever I was picking, I was looking for an album, we were getting ready to leave, and I needed one more to qualify for the sale that they were doing. And I already looked through the CDs, I don't know how many times, and it was I look up on the top shelf, and it was just shining there, this bright white among all this black. And I read it, and it's Candlemass, and it's oh dear God, this is a sign.
It was the trumpets.
And yeah, and I was oh, I have to get this, and I'm looking at it and everything, and I see that's the one with the Return of Messiah on it, and I'm oh yeah, this has got to be amazing, and I was not disappointed at all.
All right, so let's get into the album a little bit. It's a 2005 release, just a self-titled album, pretty straightforward, just like the artwork, just you know what you're getting. And let's talk a little bit about the vocals, because I think Candlemass probably is most known for their vocals, specifically the vocals from Messiah. They had a couple other singers, and currently still do, mixing in there. So this is the first album that he's been featured on since 1989's Tales of Creation. And I like all the other singers, but you could definitely tell he was back. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. He's got one of those unique voices that's just absolutely perfect for this type of music.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's all I could say. The vocal range and the style that he can pick up. And one thing I want to touch on is just the contrast to the style of music.
Absolutely.
Because when you hear Doom, initially you're thinking of low-toned music or growling, screaming, that kind of stuff. But no, this is totally other end of the spectrum. This is almost like operatic power metal vocals to ultra doom music. So I don't have anything else to say on the music or on the lyrics, just because they carry everything Candlemass does. It's all about the vocal style for me personally. What are your thoughts?
It is, at least whenever I first heard him. I mean, the first song I ever heard was Mirror, Mirror, which is still it's
absolutely awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely killer. Love it. But anyway, this album, I was actually impressed because the music keeps up very well with the vocals, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And while the vocals are absolutely fantastic, I mean, just spot on. It's amazing throughout. I was actually really drawn in, though, by the riffs and everything. And like you said, I mean, Candlemass has always been known, about, at least in my opinion, about Messiah's vocals. And for the music to catch me like they did, I thought was really saying something.
Yeah, and that's what I had down next, is just talking about how awesome the riffs were. Production definitely was stepped up in this album. It sounded very crisp and clean. And, the riff's not overly complicated, but, I'm not really expecting that from Candlemass. I'm expecting good, solid Doom-style riffs with the great distortion and then the vocals to carry it. Nothing against the musicians, because it's just, they're just as awesome. It's just that's what we've come to expect, at least I have come to expect from Candlemass. So that, I mean, it kind of sounds like a short review, but I don't have anything else other to say, really, as far as getting in depth with the music or the vocals than just awesome.
Well, yeah, and I mean they are absolutely great. Like I said, the first riff of Black Dwarf, which is the very first song, if that doesn't pull you into the album, you're probably not going to appreciate the rest of it. But I know on the song Witches that there actually is a little bit of a solo, and I was shocked. Like it's actually almost more of like a traditional kind of heavy metal type song. Was I the only one that got that on that one?
No, yeah, I totally agree. And I guess I'll jump ahead. Did you have anything else you wanted to say on that?
Well, as far as Witches, all I was gonna say is like like I said, it's more of a traditional type heavy metal kind of song. I mean, it's not what you would normally think of as like Candlemass and Doom or whatever. And you get to the solo, but as soon as the solo ends, there's like the sourest note I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, you've just got this nice solo. I mean, it's not overly complicated or technical, but it's a good, solid solo. And I mean, literally, as soon as it ends, that next note is just like,
and that would be the characteristic of Doom.
Yeah, and I mean, then it just turns to sludge, and it's absolutely fantastic.
All right, so we basically talked this album up to the sky because the trumpets are playing for it. Did you have any negative aspects about this album?
Honestly, the only thing is I hadn't heard any of the songs on this album, and I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, a good guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I haven't played guitar seriously since, like, elementary school.
Wow,
And,
you played guitar back then?
well, sort of, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm not that old.
Air guitar?
No, I actually I used to know how to play real guitar.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I guess I learned something.
Yeah. I mean, I used to play bass for a little bit too, and then I became a drummer, and just all hell broke loose after that. But a lot of the riffs and stuff, it was kind of like really predictable, like when it was going to change, except for, like I said, on Witches, when that note just hits out of the blue and just, it's so ugly. It's beautiful. But it's very kind of like the changes and some of the riffs even and everything, while they're great, they are kind of predictable. That was one thing that really bugged me.
Yeah, I have something down very similar to that. There's not a bad song on the album. I'll just preface by saying that. But nothing on the album really grabbed me. It just like blew me away or anything. It was more of just what I come to expect. Obviously the vocals were awesome because it was the return of Messiah, so they kind of stepped up a little bit. But even without him, the vocals are still usually carrying this band, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And everything's solid, but I would be listening, and it seems like it was very predictable, and it was not monotonous or anything, just predictable. And you would kind of start getting tired of the songs. But then about the time you were getting tired, either there would be a small little part that would loop you back into the song, or the next song would start, and it'd be a fresh start from there. So that's real, and that's not even that big of a negative, but I guess it was really that I just wasn't blown away specifically by any tracks on here, and that some of the music was predictable. But I guess I should have known that kind of coming into expecting Candlemass. But that's really all I've got. So what were some of your favorite songs?
My favorite song is Black Dwarf. Like I said, it's that first riff. It's honestly one of the most predictable in the entire album.
It's a very impactful song to kick it off, though. You're right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is a great song to kick it off on. And then I loved Copernicus because there's this whole little stretch where they're playing like one note at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems to stretch on forever. And it's just, I absolutely love that. And I usually don't. I'm usually not the one that likes, the one note, kind of just hold it for an hour and a half type. I usually don't go for that.
That's usually me.
Right, yeah. But I actually really appreciated it on that song. And like I said, the solo and everything on Witches, I thought it was a great kind of change, on the album. And the last song, The Day and the Night, there's just this, like, I don't know how else to say it, but this just, like, chugging riff that, I mean, is just, I don't even know how to say it. I mean, it's just like marching to your death in slow mud. I mean, it's weird, but I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I was not, there was nothing on here that's going to like change my life type great,
Hmm.
but overall I thought it was good and solid. And like I said, Black Dwarf really stood out to me among all of it. That's definitely my favorite song. I'm kind of with you though. Some of it you do kind of get, especially towards the middle part of the album, which is why I think Witches kind of stands out, is because it's something kind of completely different, and it's a very good change. If it wasn't for that, I think the album would actually suffer a little bit because it does kind of, well, it's good. There's nothing earth shattering or anything about it. So,
Well, that's different. That's really interesting because my favorite songs are totally different, which means that this is an all-around solid album.
I mean,
My favorite songs are the Seven Silver Keys, and then probably my favorite is The Man Who Fell from the Sky, which is a total instrumental.
yeah, that was great.
And I mean, that's just completely awesome that all of our favorite songs were totally different, which means, like I said, the album's got to be solid. And with only 10 tracks, and we picked about close to half of it just between our favorite songs,
Yeah.
that's definitely got to be something to check out. So let's jump into the actual review. 1 star being the worst, 5 stars being totally awesome. What do you give this?
I'm going to give it a 4.25 just because, like I said, it's a little predictable, and some of the songs they just you kind of get tired of them at a point, and then thankfully it changes up, but just because that's there and everything, I'm going to give it a good solid 4.25.
Well, we're going to leave it at that because I was going to give it a 4, and we're going to round up. So, so 4.25 sounds great to me, and this is, that tells you right there this is something you need to check out. Just again, preface by saying the vocals are the coolest part of this band, in my opinion, but they're also probably going to be the most polarizing,
Yeah.
similar to like a Rush or a King Diamond or something like that with the high-pitched vocals. So that's all I got on this album. Any last words you want to comment?
Just be sure to check it out. I mean, even if it's not your cup of tea, there's a song on here you'll probably at least appreciate. So be sure to check it out.
All right, and with that, we'll close this review. Until next time, see you guys later.
Peace.